Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal, and this is the latest Arsenal news. A lot to get into today, including the latest on Thomas Partey, the latest on Jorginho, the latest on Tomiyasu as well. Mikel Arteta has also been speaking about Kiwior, and also some transfer news that have just come out from David Ornstein. Talking about what our priority is in terms of the summer transfer window. So we'll be getting into all that, a lot to get into. But let's start with Thomas Partey. We obviously know about the injury, how much you've been talking about him. Will he finally be fit for the next game? Now, Mikel Arteta has confirmed, according to Arteta's conference today, Thomas Partey should be part of the squad on Monday. He had a session before the last game. Now he's done 2 or 3 sessions. It's progressing well. So it looks like we're finally going to get Thomas Partey back in the squad after months and months and months upon months upon months upon months. It looks like we're finally going to get Thomas Partey back. He was part of the training session yesterday at the Emirates Stadium, which had the likes of Julian Timber as well. Gabriel Jesus was there as well. It's a very, very positive update that we got yesterday. It finally looks like we're going to get Thomas Partey. Now, in terms of starting the game, I don't really expect him to start the game. We don't really need him to play that game. Actually, if I was making a decision, I'd keep him until the next game against Brentford, 30 minutes in that game, and then play him against FC Porto, whether it's off the bench or starting him. I don't know. Whichever. Which one would you guys want? Would you want Thomas Partey to start against Sheffield, or would you want him to come on for 30 minutes, or save him until next week? Which one would you want to see? I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him for even 10 minutes because it's been such a long time. Like, just get him on the pitch so that we finally know that Thomas Partey is real. We've not had him for such a long time. Like, it would be good to finally see him back alive again, like even if it's for 10 minutes against Sheffield. But not rushing it. I rather keep him until the next week. But it's very, very positive to get Thomas Partey back. I did say, I did specify back in November, December, when you were arguing about Thomas Partey, people like debating whether they should stay or leave in January. I did say I would keep him for the rest of the season, even if it means he'll only play, 3-4 games at the end of the season. The important games like against Man City or against whichever team you're going to play, if you're going to be in the quarterfinals or semifinals of the Champions League, I think it's going to help us there. So I'm not going to go back on that. Let's see how he does between now and the end of the season. Getting him back, that boosts our midfield. Now, like, we've depended on Declan Rice a lot. Thankfully, Jorginho has been really, really good as well. Like, if we didn't have Declan Rice and also Partey being injured this season, it would have been a disaster. So shout out to Declan Rice for stepping up the whole season, and for Jorginho on stepping up as well. We really, really needed them. But they do need some help. If we have Partey on the pitch, we can even afford to rest Declan Rice for even a game, and then he plays for the following game. But whenever his part is not there, and it's very hard to have Declan Rice like resting for like 90 minutes in the game. So having Partey would probably afford us to see the both of them on the pitch, or perhaps resting Declan Rice. And also, when Partey and Rice and Odegaard started the first game together this season, the first game of the season, and I think Crystal Palace as well, you do remember Partey was playing at right back, so we haven't really seen Partey, Rice, and Odegaard in midfield together. Maybe we are about to see it, but let me know when you would bring him back to the team. Now, one of the reasons why we haven't missed Thomas Partey a lot, especially recently, is because of Jorginho's performances. But Jorginho's contract is ending at the end of the season. He was signed last January. He signed an 18-month contract. So there was talks. I actually saw talks like a day or two ago that Jorginho could end up leaving. But we have the option of extending his contract. So will we do that? Well, according to reports on that from Marky Bryans, Arsenal are set to open talks with Jorginho soon. The starting offer is expected to be 1 year deal plus 1 year option. So that is very, very welcoming news. Having Jorginho's experience in the team is very, very crucial. A lot of us said when he was signed, a lot of people are not convinced about Jorginho because he's coming from Chelsea, because of his age and all that. But he's really done very, very well for us since he joined Arsenal, and especially in the last few games. But even not just the last few games, Jorginho this season against Sevilla in the Champions League, against I think it was Man City or someone, against Liverpool this year, he was man of the match, and against Newcastle he was great. Against Newcastle away from home he was great as well. He's been putting in performances, and when a player puts in performances, you reward him. And if you consider like next season, we might not have El Neni, and there's a big chance we might not have Partey next season, especially if he gets injured again. I'd not be surprised like if he goes to like Saudi Arabia or something next season. So Jorginho is like one of the few players that we have experience in our team, so I'd be very, very happy to keep him. But we have to continue talks with him, because there was talks about him being linked to Italian teams, because he's a very experienced player. Those teams would want him at the end of his career. But if we do extend his contract for 1 year until next season, and have an option to extend it after that if he does play well again next season, I'm happy with that. I think he definitely deserves a new contract. And another thing I look at, apart from the experience and the technique on the pitch, because on the pitch is very good in terms of passing the ball. I saw someone the other day saying Jorginho only passes backwards, and I was like, oh my goodness, do you watch football? How can you actually say that Jorginho passes the ball backwards, always passes the ball backwards? Like the passes, like yes, he passed the ball to Martinelli for the Havertz goal, but even the first goal that he scored from Saka's corner, the own goal, it was from another Jorginho looked past, and Livramento cleared it, and you got a corner from that. Like he has so many unbelievable passes. People say he does get exposed when he's facing quicker players, but as long as we have the likes of Saliba, Gerbil, and Rice protecting him and all that, we don't really get exposed that much. So if we give him the ball in terms of passing, I think he's one of our best passers, probably even our best pass in the team. So I do think he's very, very underrated in the team. And as I said, the experience is the only player to have really, him and Havertz, to have really won the Champions League. And, he has won the Euros as well. So he has been competing on a high level. So I'm happy with us extending his contract. Now, he's going to be a squad player. He's not like going to be starting next in every single game. But these days when Jorginho is coming on, I'm like, hey, bring him on. Why not? Bring him on. I have no problem with that. And having him and Rice there as well, that would be very welcoming. And remember as well, he's been able to stay fit and all that. And as I said, another thing I look at, as I was about to say, another thing I look at is character. Declan Rice and Jorginho's characters are very, very, they're very good people, like in terms of their characteristics, in terms of from the mentality to the way they treat everyone else in the team, to the way they treat the fans. To, if you hear them speak, like they're the nicest people in the world. So you want that kind of character in the team. Rice as well. Rice is a very funny guy, making jokes all around. You need those guys in the team. They're very, very good people. So happy to hear that. Hopefully, we do give him the contract. Now, in the summer, we're expecting Jorginho to stay, hoping Jorginho stays. We don't know yet about the other players like Elneny and Partey and Nelson and all those guys. But one position that everyone has been speaking about is the strikers. Arsenal should get a striker and all that. I do agree with that. Definitely. We have scored a lot of goals so recently, and we scored a lot of goals last season. But I always imagine you have a striker there. If we can score 80, 85 goals without a striker, we can definitely get like more than 100 with a striker there. Because the option of, even if he starts the game, and then you have the option of rotating Jesus and Martinelli and Saka and, everyone else who's there. You have a striker starting some games and a striker coming on in some games, and you can afford to rest Jesus. And that means Jesus stays fit for the whole season because he's not being dependent on and all that. That would be absolutely amazing. So news has come out like an hour ago from David Ornstein confirming that news. And this is what he has had to say about it. A striker is the main focus for Arsenal in the summer. Victor Gyökeres, Benjamin Sesko, and Ivan Ferguson are admired among others. So the other day we talked about Osimhen. There was talk about Tony as well. Those ones are still on the list, but as I said, personally, I would take Gyökeres. Especially if it's cheaper. Depends. If they say Gokar is 100 and something million now, then if that's the case, then I'd probably say rather get Osimhen for that money and stuff. But if this guy is cheaper, Gokar is from Sporting and he's played in the Championship before, I would get him for sure. But Evan Ferguson is on the list as well. What do you guys think of Evan Ferguson? Would you take him from Brighton? He's still very, very young. I'd not be surprised if Ferguson ends up at Chelsea. Chelsea usually take everyone from Brighton. Benjamin Sesko as well. I watched him in the Champions League playing against Real Madrid. He's also very, very young still, but he's a talented player, talented striker. Those strikers who can run in behind and all that, the likes of Gyökeres. I wouldn't mind any of them as long as we get a striker, a person who just wants to score goals and everything, and you have all these guys quitting for you, Martinelli, Saka, Jesus, Odegaard. That would be absolutely amazing. So it depends on what Arsenal looks for. As I said on yesterday's video, I'll link it up in the YouTube card right now. Strikers, like depending on which strikers that is looking for, it depends. Like, is he looking for someone, a different kind of striker to Jesus? Someone's just going to, hold up the ball and head the ball in and, stuff like that. tall striker or something like that, or does he want a striker who's going to fit into a player striker similar to Jesus, but one that probably scores more, but he likes to come back into midfield as well, run to the wings and all that. It really depends on what Ateta is looking for. But it looks like we're very serious in terms of a striker. When David Ornstein says stuff, especially about Arsenal as well, he's usually very, very accurate. So strikers like Gyökeres we're looking at. The other day, as I say, there was news about Osimhen and Tony and all those guys. Let's wait and see who we get. Whichever we get, there's a lot of strikers who are going around. Let's hope we get at least one of them. So that's the latest in terms of the strikers. Let me know, which striker would you want at Arsenal personally? Which one would you want to join Arsenal? Now, back to the players that are currently at Arsenal. As I say, that did his press conference today, and he was asked a lot about the players who've been injured. And this is what he had to say about the injured players. So when he was asked about Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, and Timber, he said it is being into the Sheffield game. He said it is possible. We have to see how they do on the training sections on Saturday and Sunday. But obviously later on, I expected it to come later on. He did say that he meant Zinchenko and Tomiyasu, not really Timber. Timber, there's no way Timber can be back for the Sheffield game. He'll only be back like end of March or something like that, or early April, because you still need time to train. You cannot throw him back into the pitch, otherwise you're going to be very, very silly. So that is on Zinchenko and Tomiyasu. They could be back on Monday as well, alongside Partey. And remember, Jesus is back as well. Fabio Vieira is back. Smith Rowe is back. So it's great to have all of these players back. There was a time they were all injured, so that was bad news for us. But we still needed to know where the hell Tomiyasu was, because we don't know where Tomiyasu was still. He came back from the Asian Cup and he literally just disappeared. None of us knew where the hell he went. But we actually have some news from Mikel Arteta when he was asked about that. This is what he had to say about it. Hopefully you guys can read that. He said he had an injury in the last game that he played with Japan. He felt something and he was out. We expected him to recover a little bit shorter, but he was struggling at the beginning of the recovery. We decided to extend that period to be more certain, because he's a player we really need. We are short and we cannot risk him being out for months. I think it was something slightly different to that injury he suffered before Christmas. So looks like he picked up another injury for Japan. I was very, very gutted with that, because as I said in the last video that I talked about Tomiyasu, it's not his fault that he gets injured. It's not so that at all. What I was trying to say was, you're a player as well. You know your body, you know how you're feeling. You're the one who's supposed to, to talk to the coach and the medical staff for Japan and Arsenal and say, listen, I played 3-4 games. I don't feel well. I don't feel like I can play the 5th game. That applies to when he's playing for Arsenal as well. If you feel like you're not ready to play a certain game, just say it, because I don't know if he says it or, he just likes to go out there and play and represent his country and his team, maybe, and he just wants to play and he gets injured. So that's why we kind of have to save him by ourselves. As I said, we are not going to just throw him back in. We're going to wait until he's fully fit. But hopefully he is fit as well for the last 2 months at least, because this season now, his 3rd season at Arsenal, and this is now the 3rd season that he's getting injured, like in a crucial part of the season. Last season he was injured in February. The previous season, I think he was also injured when we were trying to fight for the top 4. We don't want that at all. But again, there's one reason why we've not really been missing Zinchenko and Tomiyasu that much, and that is Kiwior. He's been playing really, really well. And Arteta was asked about Kiwior earlier today, and this is what he had to say about Kiwior. On him adapting on the left back role okay, let me read that the whole thing. Mikel Arteta adapting the left back role to accommodate Kiwior. It's all about that. At the end of the day, you can ask players to do things that they don't feel capable of, especially doing it in an unnatural way. So we have to tweak a few things to make sure that players play to their strengths. So he's been playing really, really well at left back, just like Ben White at right back. A player who's not a right back, he's been playing really, really well, and Kiwior at left back, he's been playing well. Now the time put him in the game against, I think, West Ham and Fulham and all those guys, he really struggled against Fulham at left back, and he was subbed at halftime because he was not doing well at all. We were probably asking him to invert, and that is not his position at all. That is not his strength. Nowadays, he's been overlapping and he's been doing a great job, not just defensively, also attacking-wise. He scored a goal against Newcastle the other day. The game against Burnley is probably my favorite in terms of him attacking and going forward. The throw-in to Havertz for his goal was absolutely quick and quick thinking, and I absolutely love that. That means he's focused on the game. Even in the 88th minute, he's like, wide open in terms of his eyes and his mind is, involved in the game. It's not like switched off and all that. They want the clean sheet and he's always involved in the game. That assist was perfect. And also the cross for Trossard's goal in the same game that fell to Havertz and then to Trossard. He was really, really attacking very well in that game. So one of the reasons we're not missing Zinchenko and Tomiyasu that much is because Kiwior has been playing really well. But we still need those players back because it's not a good idea to only have 4 defenders. They can't play every single game. There's a lot of games coming up. You need to rotate. We might need Kiwior to play at centre back one of those games and rest Gabriel. So yeah, we need our players back. And this as well, I was also talking about is the talked more about Kiwior. Hopefully you guys can see that. If you can't, I'll just read it for you. We made a decision to bring him in earlier because we believed we were assigned to have the role that he had, but he was going to need time, and that was the case. We have made it difficult for him for 2 reasons. One, because he hasn't played that many minutes, and secondly, because we've asked him to play in a position that he's never played in before. It is like pulling William Saliba into fullback and saying, tomorrow, perform and do what we have to do. I think he has adapted really well. He's playing better and better. You can tell that he's earning confidence, and physically he's better. He understands the role much better, and he has been very really good. So always welcome, and it is always welcome to have and that's another player that I always look at when he's playing, and he usually feels every time like he's shown, and every time you see him defending, he looks like he's very happy to be there. Like you can tell like he's getting along with Gabriel and Saliba and Martinelli in front of him, and Declan Rice when he took that corner for his goal. He's really, really happy. Now feels like an Arsenal player. So that is great. There's sometime last year, it's a time he wasn't really feeling like an Arsenal player. But right now, he definitely feels like an Arsenal player. I think it applies the same thing to Havertz, because there's a time last year he wasn't really feeling like an Arsenal player. Right now, I feel like all of them are Arsenal players. Like they've all understood what Arsenal is all about, what you're trying to do, what it is he's trying to achieve, and all that. What Saka is all about, what Odegaard is all about, what Gabriel is all about. So it's a great position to be in. And long may it continue. We need all these players to play well. It has been a very long time since we had like 7, 8 defenders who were all really, really quality. What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive. Let me know what you make of all that. A lot of news we've covered today on Kiwior, on Tomiyasu, on Zinchenko, on the striker situation, on Jorginho, and also on Thomas Partey. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the daily updates, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next